Studies of ductless glands reveal, skin colors can change within certain human limits when stimulated by secretions produced over the years in specific environments. Subsoil can have a similar effect on absorption or deficiency of certain elements through food and water in specific areas. A novel written in one language when translated into another is appreciated for the human interest it arouses. Likewise, love between different races produces common, healthier, and more virile offspring. Beauty and refinement follow in the footsteps of good economic or educational conditions. A pariah boy taken in by Guru Narayan and educated in the ashram at Varkala was easily mistaken for an orthodox Brahmin, as the Guru often showed him. A review of scouts in their uniforms line by line in any district, in any school in India, proves objectively once again how difficult it is to classify castes based on mere physical characteristics. Any possible caste groupings can be made under such circumstances only with the help of external and easily imitated signs, such as vernaculars, hairstyles or appropriate caste marks. Objectively there is no difference, and the term, objectively, is strictly irrelevant to the judgment of the subject from a rational point of view, unless it also applies to accusatory circumstances which are accidental, superficial or external. Even a Brahmin is born in mankind, and so is the pariah. Where, then, is the difference between man and man in caste? Here the Guru brings together the necessarily contradictory images of the problem. Because the concept of pariah loses its meaning without the Brahmin, and without the pariah as a background element. Brahminhood, in short, at least in the Indian context, the dialectic of history, like ours, loses its present import. As shown in the previous chapter, one arises in response to the other. But the Brahmin and the pariah, in the pure light of reason or thought, though they are historical rivals, are fundamentally one in human content. Any asymmetry of one or the other's normal personality is imaginary, they are social remnants. Out of place and contextual to the changed world situation and totally irrelevant to spirituality. On the model of the prehistoric Shiva, worshipped as a god even by the Brahmins, the pariah drummer synonyms, as we have noted, as holy in his own way. Brahmin again embodied as a type of certain re-evaluated refinements called Arya virtues, more socialized than prehistoric and sacred in another socialized context. Clean diet, monogamy, better housing conditions, clothing. These virtues include some generally workable qualities such as personal and social charm, which are upheld as Brahminhood. A dominant group always has this advantage, which justice seeks to eliminate in favor of the common people, peasants and plebeians. The non and the underdog dominate because of human injustice, and this is where meditation can help bring order, balance and equality between the two opposites. Basically, as Robert Burns summed it up in one of his great lines, a man is a man. It is goodwill and kindness that unites all classes into one man, the riches and excesses of Tadupalapan, Lord, or Erlin, or the abject poverty and alcoholic illiteracy of the farmer, or laborer, is nothing. Brahmin and Parihan belong to the same human context. Although this statement is simple enough to understand, and even offensive when criticized, it is nevertheless one that has long and futilely been the subject of many arguments and revolutions. Even Shankara, a highly rational and critical philosopher, left much of the irrational in the past. Despite his strict distinction between Vyavaharika, day-to-day practical, and Paramarthika, ultimate or ultimate ideal values, he thought that matters like Vedic rituals and caste obligations belong to Vyavaharika. But even necessary things are not necessarily irrational. This is what Guru Narayan reveals here. Although most of the inevitable things, like geological and climatic changes, should be taken for granted. All necessary things need not be considered unreasonable. If it is necessary for us to breathe and communicate, this does not mean that it is necessary to lie. After a critical scientific examination based on common sense or reasoning, reason can enter the domain of things to regulate and reorder it. Deliberation is not intended to condone absurdities or to confuse factual issues, but rather as a support and aid to common sense. Common sense and reasoning should properly be regarded as complementary parts of the same discipline, and should be subject to a strict general methodology and epistemology of wisdom in an interesting composition attributed to Shankara. The Manishi Panchakam, 5 stanzas on man, each stanza concludes, perhaps rightly, with the personification of unified wisdom, be he Jati or Brahman, Shankara's guru. According to legend, the poem was written following an incident in Benares. Shankara and his followers were returning from a bath in the Ganges when they encountered a pariah. Not only does it refuse to get out of the way, Shankaran was severely questioned. Caste perils and conservatism, Pariyaram did so, as the story goes, not on ordinary human grounds, but on Shankara's own Advaita approach.